Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream today. We're Ron Nicoletti along with Ashley Mayu. It is Friday afternoon, and we have a fast main track from turf course, and you can just see, once again, the winds coming out of the east-southeast, which means a pretty warm day for us here in South Florida, and it looks like someone was at the beach yesterday.
I think I should have went today. There's no clouds out there at all today, Ron, but I think I would be sweating already. It's pretty warm out there.
Yeah, it's going to get warmer over the weekend, but that's what South Florida is all about. So we got a Pick 5 pool already starting at $25,000, but we got the Stronach 5 a little later on today, and we have 3 races from Gulfstream Park, races 7, 8, and 9, and a couple from Golden Gate Fields.
Our friends at Santa Anita have the day off. They resume tomorrow, and unfortunately, no racing in Maryland this weekend. So we get 3 races back-to-back, Ron, and kind of looking at the later sequences, I think we both kind of like a horse on top in one of them, but one of those races I think is a spread race for sure if you're playing the Stronach 5.
Yeah, you'll see how that plays out. We'll show the ticket a little later on, the All-Star ticket, which I am part of, along with, well, this week it'll just be our man out in Golden Gate Fields. What's his name?
Matt.
That's from Matt Dinneman. Matt, and great guy, too. Really great guy. Can't remember his name, but a great guy. So fast main track from turf course. We got pick 5s, early ones, late ones, and you got an early pick 5 ticket.
Yes, hopefully we'll cash this one today. I had to restructure my ticket a little bit with the scratch of the number 4 in here, Commissioner G, in the first leg. So I went too deep in here. I thought Dr. Roger was a horse to use, was second last time out to Flamingo Hawk, who we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. And then the 9 constituencies, my top horse in here, claimed last time out. I just think last time out in that start as well was just second best. Then in race 2, I went too deep in here. It's our 2-year-old race, our first 2-year-old race of the season. I think both these horses probably have the stronger workouts out of the field, so I used them in there. Race 3, I also went too deep. Looking like a Queen's the 10. I think she's going to appreciate the cut back and distance, and she's kind of been a hot commodity here in South Florida over the last year and a half, always getting claimed, and was a very consistent runner. And I also used the morning line favorite, the number 12, Daddy's Joy, stretching out, and I think that's going to make a big difference for her and just second off the layoff. And then I spread in race 4. This was a race that I didn't want to leave too many horses out. It's a 5-furlong turf race. I thought there was a bunch of directions to go. The 5 is my sleeper. I'll talk about that one once we get to race 4. Then to wrap it up, I went too deep in here. I thought the number 8, Excalibur, just missed last time out and is probably the horse to beat. But I felt like if I didn't use the 3 rack gin, I'd probably regret it. So I did go too deep in there for a $24 play overall.
Yeah, very affordable ticket here, and the first race today will be on the main track, and if you're just joining us, the main track is fast. 6-furlong sprint, maiden claim is 3 and up, $20,000, as you mentioned. Scratch of the number 4, Commissioner G in here, and I also started with the number 9 horse in here, Constituency. I always have trouble with that horse. Moved to the Greg Sacco barn, as you mentioned, after that claim. Turns back to 3/4 mile. Finished that really solid second, going 6.5 furlongs. Paco Lopez in the saddle.
Just second best last time out. I think on the cutback it was a good spot. And the first time dropping in for like an unprotected spot was in for the $20,000 tag, and Greg Secco, he decided to just pick that one out of there for $20,000. And looking at the horse's workout since then, had a bullet in that first workout since joining the barn. Pretty nice work in the morning at Palm Meadows, I should say. 48-2, breezing the fastest of 8. And even the most recent one on April 8th, I thought it was strong. I also thought this horse probably, kind of looking at the morning line, would take a little bit more play just because this one last time out was a nice second to Converter. I know we saw a Converter race a few days back, but beaten by 5.5. But overall, I liked the performance. And now second time out, staying at a shortened distance today at 6 furlongs, I think should fit this one.
Well, the horse you used in second, I used in third, Dr. Rogers, who's going to the 1C of Healy Barn. After the claim, steps it up a notch, finished that distance second. As the favorite against those 16 maidens, going 6.5 with Edgar Zayas in the saddle.
Similar story to the other horse we talked about. First off the claim, cut back and distance seemed to improve. I also think 2 starts back, this one wanted no part of the slop. I mentioned the winner when we are going through the pick 5 ticket, Flamingo Hawk, a dominant winner. Came back to race here just a few days ago and was just second best to the stablemate Bailey. So Safi Joseph finished 1-2 in there, but I thought it was a good start for Flamingo Hawk facing winners for the first time. This one was just nowhere near Flamingo Hawk in that race, but looking at the rest of the field was clear. So this, to me, was the next logical horse to use.
And the number 2 horse, I get some interest in here. 8-1 on the line right now, and that's Natural, who's Nahutal, I think it's pronounced. Drops, turns back to the sprint distance, stalked the pace. Finished, I thought, a workman like 4th against those 35 maidens. That was going a 1-turn mile. I really respect the work that Fausto Gutierrez does. He's got Angel Arroyo handling turn back combination, turn back drop down today. I thought it might be a spot. spot. Behind the logical 2, the 9, and the 6, really no one scares me, so I figured we'd get a little bit of a price with the number 2 horse. With that said, we'll go to race number 2, and as Ashley mentioned, our first 2-year-old race of the summer, spring-summer meet, and this is our, we have a lot of fun with these 2-year-olds all through the summer. Of course, we got the Florida Sire Stakes series starting a little later on in the summer, and 4.5 furlongs. Here we go, 2-year-olds. We got 3 fillies in the field and 4 colts and geldings, or geldings in the field.
Little mix in here. I went in a different direction than you. I do like the 4 Keto Dan for underneath. I felt looking at that one, strong workouts. But I went to the 5 Merlin. I looked at the pedigree and looked at the siblings, 2 full siblings. One's a 5-time winner. Just won a few days ago at Parks. His name's Genghis. Like I mentioned, a 5-time winner in his career. He's pretty consistent, hard-trying horse. And most recent Breeze, nothing flashy at all, 38-4. But I like the work tab on this one. I liked the work 2 back. Has some fast works, has some slower works. But, kind of looking at Juan Alvarado, he's done well with the young horses as well. We saw last year he had a nice one here. So I went with Merlin, 5-2 morning line. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be kind of come down to the Keto Dan and Merlin on top.
Well, Keto Dan IV is the son of Point of Entry and a half-brother to Grade 2 Stakes Place Market King, debuting for Jorge Delgado, who has a really solid 27% win average with his 2-year-old runners. Paco Lopez will be in the saddle this afternoon. Paco does an excellent job with the 2-year-old runners here, especially early on. You just got to get them interested early. But I have some interest in the number 2, Noble President. I'll tell you, this is one of the 3 fillies in the race. She's a daughter of Noble Bird, but she's a half-sister to CC Valentina, who was a multiple stakes winner during her freshman season. She was tearing it up here at Gulfstream Park. Angel Rodriguez has Lionel Reyes named to ride, and it's just a play for me. I'm going off the family that likes to win. They're precocious. They like to win it too. Though maybe this one at a little bit of a price, 15-1 in the morning line. Might be a little bit of an upsetter in here.
You mentioned the pedigree. That's the one thing I wrote. All the half-siblings have been winners. Like a really stellar pedigree looking at the field. I think for me, the workouts only has the one workout here. The other one is at a training center. They weren't flashy, and that could just be they were at the training center. Most recent didn't do much for me, and the barn is not known necessarily to get them out first time out, but I think you have it structured right. I think using a horse like Noble Present underneath can give you some value, and maybe we'll learn something in this race and pick up a minor check.
Yeah, and you never know who you're going to see in these races a little later on. As I mentioned, the Florida Sire Stakes series now, they've gone on to do some incredible things, the 2-year-olds here at Gulfstream Park. We're going on the turf for race number 3. It's about 7.5 furlongs. It's an allowance optional claimer for state bred fillies and mares 4 and up. The optional tag is $20,000. We did have some scratching here. Most of them were just main track onlys in there, 2, 3, 5, 6, and the number 9. And when you looked at this race, you said, well, post number 12, but you knew that the main track onlys were going to come out. And I think you have the right horse on top with Daddy's Joy.
Just last time out, it was the first start off, a little bit of a freshening, just a couple months off. It was going 5 furlongs, finished second behind Song River, was favored, just missed by a length and a half. I mean, this horse has some early foot. It's going to have that outside post today and going to stretch out to 7.5 furlongs. I still think Daddy's Joy can get out of the gate. And we look at that race 2 back. That was going a mile and a 16th, so longer than today's race, just missed by a neck, beat another runner in here. She's really been consistent on the grass here. I mean, she's done nothing wrong. She's never finished worse than second. So to me, she was the logical kind of play on top. I did think the main competition did come from the 10 looking like a queen. And it looks like you agree, Ron.
Yeah, and for the $20,000 tag today, the mare comes off a solid second place finish against those 16 starter allowance runners. The figure prominently on the ticket for Trainer Herman Walensky, Joe Bravo named to ride this afternoon. So I thought looking like a queen was the logical choice. You did go with the number 8 horse in here in third.
Was looking for a price. I thought after that, I mean, the 11 was a horse I gave some consideration and actually just decided to toss in general. I thought Azu, this horse last time out was third behind Real Doozy, who I know is out of this spot today. Real Doozy's kind of a pace setter, and this one just sat from off the pace. Didn't have a late kick, but was third, beaten by 6.5. I think looking at the race before that was a nice fourth, beaten by 2 3/4 lengths, and had picked up some positions late. Now, here at Gulfstream Park, she's typically just getting those minor placings here. You see those 4 starts over the turf course, 2 seconds and a third. But the big thing, too, she's only making her 3rd start off the layoff, and I just thought this may be a spot for her. She's only 4 years old, that she could show some improvement.
Well, you mentioned that number 11, Fierce Scarlet. Sort of like when this happens. This one's going to change bar now in the Rohan Crichton bar. And the daughter Scat Daddy makes her first start. Since when? Since closing to finish third behind Daddy's Joy. But it's when they hooked up in December. So I always like that kind of angle. Paco Lopez is going to handle a rematch, albeit it was back in December. So maybe that horse grabs his share. So but it looks like Daddy's Joy maybe looking like a queen are the top two in that race. With that said, that's race 3. When we come back for race number 4, I will have my Rainbow 6 ticket.
And they're off. Second in the two path. Ground on first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. Last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Ron and Ashley joining you here this afternoon on a beautiful day here once again in South Florida. Things are starting to heat up. Summer is just around the corner. Florida, that means all year round, but basically starting to heat up a little bit. The fourth race, a 5-furlong turf starter optional claimer for fillies, 3-year-olds. Here's my Rainbow 6 ticket, the magical number of $43.20. And I did go 3 deep in here. And my long shot today, 8-1. I hope I get 8-1. I know you used this horse on your early pick 5. I'm alluding to the 6 Sunshine City. I also used Exact and Running Memory is going to show you that horse's last troubled start. 2 deep in race number 5, Excalibur, another horse I know you had some interest, but I did use the Alistor in second. Rack Gin is the one I wanted to use and left out. Dr. Duke, I got some interest. No in race number 6. Also used the 7 Bright Devil. And in race 8, Briella pulling strings. Come on, Karen. And then the last, boy, I just think that, race number 8, Croy is, I know a horse that I love, and a lot of people are going to use that one, maybe single. And then the last race, boy, Mumbai was pretty good last time out. So $43.20 for me, with a little bit of coverage here in race number 4.
You used a couple prices too, and I think in those legs I use prices as well. Most of the time they're the same horses as you run, just because I think some of those turf races, we mentioned this one, the Sprint, they're wide open. It's not just one horse.
Yeah, definitely. So, Sunshine City, a previous winner at this 5-furlong distance, turns back, set the pace, and finished third behind that red-hot 4-time winner, Porque No. How good has this horse been going? That was at a mile in the 16th. It's Bobby DeBona, Edwin Gonzalez. Lots of things to like if I can get a little bit of a price.
Exactly. The main reason I used this horse was that last performance, going a mile and a 16th on the grass. So that's another thing. Going longer, now cutting back. I always liked that angle. Edwin Gonzalez in the saddle, a positive. But you mentioned Porque No, because when I first looked at the race, I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, not a bad horse to finish third, too. You only missed by a length and a quarter and tried to take the field on the front end. Didn't go very fast by any means, but, was kind of a long shot in that spot anyways. I think the other races, I think this one prefers the turf. Not worried about the cutback, because if you go 3 back, that was late December here in 2020. This one was picked out of that race for $35,000, just missed by half a length. So the distance shouldn't be a problem. And last time out, pretty solid performance and a career best.
Well, you have a number 7 Exact on top, who's stepping up the competition. She posted her 2nd consecutive victory. She defeated those 35 claimers. She was 30-5 favorite that day.
Just looking at the progression, I think, from the maiden win into the claiming game, facing winners for the first time. Well, she won by about the same margin. Her number did improve, though. She went from a 68 by her speed figure to a 77. And I just think looking at her races, her dirt races weren't necessarily bad, but in her last 2, she's really matured and stepped up on the grass. She has early foot. Already mentioned to the runner to the inside, now on the cutback. Maybe can actually force her to go even quicker early on. But I thought last time out it was a pretty nice win. Loves it here at Gulfstream Park. So I use this horse on top. I'm not a fan of 2-to-1 morning line. I'm always looking for value. And that's why I did use her on top, but I don't think she's a shoe-in here.
Well, the horse you have in fourth, and I have a third running memory. We're going to go back and revisit her last race. She's going to drop into the starter optional claimer. She followed a debut 25 maiden victory. You're going to see her breaking slowly in here. That she's the number 8 running memories. She just gets, it's shuffled back at the start. Actually, if you saw the head on it, wasn't much, but she had her head switch. Now watch this as she's coming into the far turn, going into the, going into the turn here. She just got to get, she just has to put on the brakes. She's got nowhere to go in that race, and it's hard to get that momentum going back again. And then she just, after that, just seems to close up on the inside and run okay. It's a better than it appears finish for this horse along the rail, skimming the rail, just coming up, and wasn't beaten that badly. I know horses came flying on the outside, but that double trouble early on, I think running memories, trainer Joe Orsino, Victor LeBron handling the inside post this afternoon. I think maybe you go back and you use that horse and you try and super.
Yeah, if the break wasn't bad enough, I mean, you could just see, too, after she broke, she really wasn't moving forward that much. She's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to stay back here. And she didn't have that momentum. It took away from her. Then you mentioned the traffic. The traffic was the big thing for her as well, because she doesn't seem, on debut, yes, she showed speed and went to the front. But looking at the trip she got last time out, she didn't seem like she was going to get there very quickly. She needed time. And once the traffic came up, well, there goes kind of her one shot of winning. So I used her underneath. I thought it was a pretty nice performance, especially considering she went from a $25,000 maiden claimer to a small stakes race.
Yeah, and what about the number 5 horse that you're using here? With I believe Paco will be in the saddle.
I thought this one from the Mike Trombetta barn was really intriguing. I hope I can get near 6-1 that we see on the morning line. The debut was scheduled for the turf. It was moved to the main track at Aqueduct. It was a sloppy track. I always repeat myself when I say this, but it's a lot to ask of a horse that, the first time out, especially when you're asking for turf. Now you have a wet track. Finished 4th, but it was a productive race. You see the 2nd place and the 3rd place finishers came back to win next time out. They gave her a little bit of a break and then put her in for the $50,000 tag here on January 28th. She won pretty clear. I don't think she's the type that needs the lead. She kind of just sat off the pace early on and made a late bid and was much the best. So for me, I'm just excited to see her now face winners for the first time off of that performance, because I mentioned there are a couple of horses in here because we're not going that far. We're going 5 furlongs. They all kind of want the lead, or that's all they've shown so far. So I thought she was sneaky.
Well, let's go to race number 5. This is where the late pick 5 will kick off. It's a mile claimer, 3 and up. Non-winners of 2 in life, $6,250. And got a little bit of a cautionary video I want to show you here, and it's on the number 8 horse, who we both still put on top. This one has been knocking on the door in consecutive races, but here's the turn for home. Just finished. This is the 3-5 favorite that afternoon, or 4-5 favorite that afternoon, I believe, and just seems to drift out in the stretch. And okay, it was a good performance. I mean, against this level of competition, yes, but I just wasn't over, enthused with this horse, coming in second. She started to pick it up at the end and just finished in second, but that 6 horse was 24-1. Just sort of like, that's why I wanted to use a couple other horses on the ticket.
Yeah, it was favored there, and then has a long shot win. And I think just looking at the record for him, that speaks volumes. He doesn't have any wins here over the main track. He's raced here 11 times. It took him a while to break the maiden, and then it's still taking him a while to get that second lifetime win. Obviously, his last 2 are kind of his more recent performances. They're his better ones, but I agree. I think last time out, you would have hoped that he would have gotten by. He just lugged out. He was pretty far over a couple pass, but looking at the others in here, with that said, I still had to use him on top.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Reckon 16 starts with the 1 win, 4 seconds, 2/3. Rack Gin, this is the one I wanted to use this one on my Rainbow 6 ticket too. I ended up going with the 4 Alistair, but Rack Gin, change your barns, going to the Monica Majoey barn. He's a 5-year-old. He's stretching out today.
Stretching out, my big thing with him is, on the stretch out, he's going to have a little bit more time going the 1-turn mile, but his last couple races, he just doesn't get a clean break. He's slow, or he has issues out of the gate, and any race that's going to cause some problems in general. And last time out, he hopped at the start. He was second. The horse that won, Starship Taxi, I think was a little bit of value in that race, but he's another one. I mean, he leaves me with wanting more, and he hasn't been able to do it. But I just thought, looking at the field, who's probably the logical horse that could maybe beat Excalibur.
Well, then number 4, Alistair, is hoping to save a little more firepower for the stretch run. Went up and set the pace, yielded at the quarter pole last time out to finish 3rd behind Excalibur in that race we just showed you. Owner Trey and trainer, Rohan Creighton, Miguel Vasquez up. This horse gets on a lonesome lead, might be dangerous today, especially if Excalibur does that little bit of chandelier imitation each and every race where it doesn't really want to go by. We'll see. But with all that said, I think Excalibur's got to be on your ticket somewhere because of the level of competition. We'll go to race number 6 this afternoon, 5 furlongs on the turf. Allowance optional claimer 3-year-olds. The optional claiming price $75,000. Really nice racing here. Kicks off our final pick 4, and Ashley's got a ticket she wants to show you.
This is my cheapest ticket to date. It'd be for a buck. It'd only be 18, 50 cents, $9. That's because I single later on the ticket. But I mentioned race 6, 5 furlongs on the turf. I spread in here. I used the 3 U.S. Steel, the number 6, Dr. Duke, and the 7 Bright Devil, who I think is intriguing. Equipment change, first time Lasix, and coming out of a grade 3 race in the fall. So I went 3 deep here. Race 7, I did go just 2 deep. I used the 1 and the 2, and I know you like these horses as well, Ron. Briella, disappointed last time out, but maybe had some excuses. And then Pulling Strings was a dominant maiden winner here in late March. Croy in race 8, the number 2. I just decided to single, I think. Last time out was a nice win for him. He's been a hot commodity, a 5-time winner locally on the turf. A lot to like about him, so he kind of stood out to me on paper. And then finally in the last race, maiden special weight on the turf, I spread in here. Used a first-time starter, as well as Mumbai, who you mentioned earlier. Pretty nice performance last time out. And then he used the number 4, What a Trick, out of the Kent Sweezy barn.
Well, number 6, Dr. Duke is where I'll start. Hoping to get a clean trip this afternoon. After following the maiden victory, we're going to show this horse's last race. We're going to check sharply going into the first turn. We're going to just show that right now. And this is the number 2 horse that day. And just has to put on the old brakes once the 3 stopped for some reason. And the 2 just had to go with it way back here. And just, you got to regather yourself. And then I'm going to just switch it to the 8th pole home. And I just thought that this horse, is so hard to make up that ground after trouble like that. Just seems to cruise along the inside and run well in there. So I'm thinking with a clean trip, this horse could be right there at the wire. Didn't give up in the stretch and just basically put a line through that last race. So Dr. Duke, Jenna Antonucci, Paco Lopez. Paco was aboard that time. You got it right on top. There you go, Dr. Duke.
Yeah, I agreed with you here. I think the effort 2 back maiden, got the job done, had to kind of hold on. My Sea Cottage was 3rd. We've already seen this one come back to break the maiden pretty nicely. Last time out, the traffic, it was not a great trip. You mentioned Field Day, who was favored, I think, at even money, just stopped and still managed to hang on for 3rd in the end, but just kind of hit a wall all of a sudden entering the far turn. The barn does well, second off, because you do see almost 2 months between those last 2 starts, but they do pretty well. Second off, anywhere from about a month and a half to 6 months, 19%. The barn's had a good year so far. So Dr. Duke, Paco Lopez staying aboard. I think this is the horse.
Horse I did not use, and I know you had some interest in, and here is the number 3 U.S. Steel. This one, Chantel Sutherland will be in the saddle for Safi Joseph Jr., and me not using Safi usually means Safi will win by 22 lengths.
That happened to me last week, and you used both of his horses. U.S. Steel, the debut was at Delaware Park, maiden special weight company there. This one was pretty fast in that race early on, got the early lead, and was able to draw clear. Just looking at the angle, Safi's been red hot. We already talked all winter long, now at the spring meet. He's already got 10 wins from 26 starts. The workout's pretty fast. I do think this one's going to be very quick in here. Lots of bullets. We see a 35-3 a couple months back. More recently, 35 flat at Palm Meadows. He does well with these new acquisitions. Chantel's off to a good start here. Saw she had a win yesterday on the program. I think a second as well. So 9-2 morning line. I hope we can get that. I know the Safi factor usually takes some money, but interested to see this one first time on the turf.
Well, the number 2, No K No, gets the Lasix back after following, I thought, a pair of solid performances at this level and distance with that poor showing. That was in the $75,000 Texas Glitter for Fausto Gutierrez, Angel Arroyo named to ride. I'm sort of guessing here that maybe this horse needed the Lasix, getting it back. Could it be? That's a guess on my part. So using this one on the ticket at, 7-2, it's a logical choice in there. And that was my reasoning there. But I want to hear why you like Bright Devil like I like Bright Devil, the Irish bred.
I mentioned the equipment change. You're seeing blinkers on. This horse was kind of towards the back of the pack last time out and didn't really show anything late. You're getting first-time Lasix. I know the colt's coming over as an Irish bred, but was racing in Great Britain where they don't have Lasix. But I wonder if this horse might need Lasix to run on. And then a grade 3 last time out. Much tougher competition than today. Then I'm looking at, Mark Cassidy, second time off the layoff, second time in general, and this horse has had a freshening. So we haven't seen this one since October. Edwin Gonzalez is off to a good start, and this is only going to be a second mount for Mark Casse. I just thought this horse could really improve from last time out.
Let's go to race number 7. Now, we mentioned at the top of the show that Rainbow Six today has 3 races from Gulfstream Park, and this is the first one of it, 7, 8, and 9. And this one is a 6-furlong starter optional claim of fillies 3-year-olds, 25 or less. We do have a scratch of the number 4. Briella on top, claim for 50,000, 2 starts back. In for 25 today, show its speed faded. Shaky bet drop in there. Kelly Breen, Paco Lopez.
I'm not sure what happened last time out. I think I used this horse second under Patty H. I thought Patty H was a pretty tough horse out of the Brad Cox barn. Just didn't fire and was way, way far back in the end, was beaten by over 20 lengths. And I know this one is pressing the pace, but look at her races. She's always towards the front end. So I'm not sure if she had an excuse that day. Now making her second start since joining the Kelly Breen barn gave me some confidence. And they have worked her since that most recent race. It was 48 flat at Pound Meadows. I just have to think it's a little bit of a softer spot, and maybe she had an excuse last time out.
Well, the number 2, Pulling Strings, is stepping up and stretching out, drawing clear to beat those maidens pretty impressively.
Yeah, 2 back when she finished third. She was beaten by 4 lengths. I wasn't really stunned by that performance at all. I would have expected more from her. She was favored in that spot. But you mentioned last time out, she kind of put it all together at the 5.5 furlong distance, just dominated the field. Now she's going to face winners for the first time. You see a huge improvement, too, in her numbers last time out. So I'm not sure how much I love her here. I did use her second, but I thought if Briella doesn't fire, she's probably the most logical winner behind her.
Well, you got that stat you wanted to show
Yes.
on Pulling Strings.
So this also gave me a little bit more of a confidence. Looking at maiden winners last time out over the past 5 years, Victor Barboza Jr., he wins at 26%. He's 20 for 77 and then in the money 52% of the time with a $1.72 ROI. Just another reason to use this horse. I feel like I'd have some reservations in general, but this gave me a little bit more confidence using her, and she did crush the field last time out.
Yeah, I think she gets the acid test today against this level of competition, but I got her highly rated on my ticket. The number 5, Come On Karen, stretching out to 3/4, rallied 5 wide to defeat those 25 state-bred maidens. That was her 5.5 debut for Bobby Hess Jr., Rajiv Mirage in the saddle. I think a logical choice to be on the bottom half, try Super or something like that.
We talked about the other 2 horses, how they had kind of have early foot. Come On Karen was able to close on a pace that really wasn't that fast for 5.5 furlongs, and I thought the horses to the inside may give her some pace to run at. And like you said, for that reason, I think you have to use her underneath.
Well, going to race number 8 this afternoon, a mile in the 16th on the turf allowance. Optional claim is state bred 4 and up. The optional claiming price of $16,000. We did have some scratches in here of the 4, 6, and 7. Jockey on the number 9 is Carlos Lugo, and I'm in the Croy on the Croy bandwagon. I'm a big fan of this horse. He's a 7-year-old. Changing barns today, going to the Carlos David barn. I believe this was your single.
Yeah, there's not a bad thing when you see Carlos David first time off the claim, 39%. If you didn't like the horse already, I don't know how you didn't in the first place, but that's an angle to look at. I mentioned the nice win last time out, beat several runners entered in this spot today. Prior to that, just missed by a neck behind J.P. Hellish that was going 7.5. I really think his only bad thing against him, and we talked about this earlier when we chatted this morning, he's 0 for 2 at the distance. He's never hit the board at a mile and a 16th, but last time out, I think he could have gone another extra 16th and still kind of beat the field by several lengths. So he's been a hot commodity. Everyone kind of wants him. You can see the number of times he's been claimed in his last couple races. He was a standout for me.
Well, the number 5, Freedom Matt, is this one from the Mike Maker barn, goes to his barn after that claim, stretches out to its most accomplished distance today. 7 races, 2 wins, 4 seconds, finished 3rd behind Croy when they competed at that mile last time out. Is this the horse that at the distance is able to turn the tables on Croy this afternoon? Good barn first off the claim.
Probably the most likely if it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't with my single in the late pick 4. He's another one that's just very consistent. I just noticed you have to go pretty far back to find his last win, and it wasn't in 2021, and it wasn't in 2020. It was a long time ago, and you just see him kind of finishing 2nd or 3rd by narrow margins. So I could just use him underneath here.
Well, the number 3, Dominate the Moment, is another one stretching out to this 8.5 furlongs or a mile in the 16th. Split the top 2 when finishing 2nd, going that mile last time out. So Alan Iwinski, Joe Bravo at the controls again. So it's going to be interesting to see what these 3 horses do when they stretch out that additional half furlong.
Yeah, you mentioned the 3. He's an interesting one because Dominate the Moment has a late kick, and then he almost seems to flatten a little bit late. And I don't know if it's maybe when he's being called upon, but I've noticed that. He has this nice late kick, and then a couple, I don't know, maybe the last 16th, he flattens out. So that's why I used him for fourth in here, actually. I did use another horse, but again, you mentioned you use him for third. He should be a horse that should round out some of the exotics.
Yeah, well, you would think so. And the other horse that you used was the number 80 Gravity. Race number 9 this afternoon is a really nice one. This is the final, leg C of the Stronach 5. We got the 2 from Golden Gate Fields with Matt Dinnerman calling the races and doing the handicapping. And that, sorry, I forgot your name there, Matt. 5 furlongs on the turf, maiden special weight, fillies, mares, 3-year-olds and up. Scratch the 5 and scratch the 6. Mumbai looks like a logical contender. Let's go back and show you his last race. We're going to take it from the 8th pole home when Mumbai just gets nailed. There he is on the lead in the number 5, and he gets nailed by a big favorite in here. And I just think that it was a good performance last time out. I mean, Too Sexy was 7-5. It was actually the favorite in that race. It just nails him at the wire. Her at the wire. So I just think Christophe Clement, Paco Lopez, certainly the one to beat in there. But like you said, I went too deep in here, and I can understand going a little deeper in this race for the Rainbow Six or just in general for the late pick 4.
Yeah, looking at the past performances, Mumbai, I think a replicated performance from last time out is good enough to beat the field. That's assuming that horses such as the One Wise Memories and the other first-time starters in here don't fire at first asking. For me, the next horse to use, and I can see this is our second Stone Cold, exactly the same super, was the 4, What a Trick. This one last time out. We took them to the front end, was stepping up from a $50,000 maiden claimer to that maiden special weight level in that protected spot. Finished second, beaten by 2 3/4 lengths behind Bye Bye. I thought it was a good performance, just simply second best, and she did go quite fast in there compared to the previous race where she just sat off the pace and missed by a length with Paco Lopez aboard. Going to get a new rider today, Edwin Gonzalez. We keep on talking about him. He's doing well. He's had some wins for this trainer in this spot. So that was the next horse I used, and Ron, you agree. I mean, you kind of had to maybe use a horse underneath that you didn't know too much about, but I felt the One Wise Memories, the workout pattern was pretty good.
Yeah, but just look, you're talking about Whisper Hill Farms. They have some of the most beautifully bred horses in the world. This one being a regally bred daughter of Tappet, debuting for Whisper Hill and Ralph Nix with Lasix. And as you mentioned, got a ton of workouts showing over the track in preparation for this assignment. She gets Lasix. She has Edgar Zayas in the saddle. She can be any type in this race. When you see daughter of Tappet, so you certainly have to give it a second look.
Yeah, especially at 6-1 morning line. I just thought the work, some of them, they showed some potential. Kind of flip-flopping on the work. She'd have a quicker work, a little bit slower, but they've breezed her mostly at 4 furlongs, but even the 5 furlong breeze in mid-March, I didn't mind that at all. And the barn does well with first-time starters, 16%.
Well, let's go to our lightning round this afternoon, and we've sort of been touching on this all afternoon with our first one, the lightning round this afternoon, is that the Stronach 5 returns with that industry low 12% takeout. And there you see we've just got, there are 3 races, 7, 8, 9, and the 2 from Golden Gate Fields today. I think it's a pretty nice sequence, and like you said, we went with a couple of different horses, and that are a bit of a shot in our 3 races, so it might pay pretty nicely.
I was having breakfast this morning. I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw the All-Star ticket. I think it's a $108 play, but shows you guys built some coverage in there because I don't think this is necessarily going to be a sequence where we see favorites winning each of them. And especially here at Gulfstream, I think that last race, we don't know what's going to happen.
You could put a ticket. If you Croy, I was close to singling either Croy or Mumbai when I was putting the All-Star ticket together, but I couldn't do it, so I did go 3 deep in a couple and 2 deep in that one with Mumbai. And big news tomorrow, mandatory payout in the Rainbow Six. We got a 12-race card this afternoon, and there you see it. They were estimating over $2.5 million in the pool, and pretty nice card tomorrow.
Yeah, big fields tomorrow throughout the card. I think the racing office did a great job, and you mentioned 12 races, so I feel like, yesterday, the Rainbow Six, there were some big prices in the first few legs, but no one hit that jackpot. So I'm expecting, like you said, it's going to be big fields, and there's going to be a lot of money in the pool.
Well, one of our favorite horses that's been here in South Florida and certainly in our sister track in Maryland is, just the great Swiss Skydiver, going to renew the rivalry tomorrow in the Apple Blossom against Monomoy Girl. And here, one of my favorite races of the year, here she is winning the 2020 Preakness Stakes. And this rematch, she didn't fare that well against Monomoy Girl in the Breeders' Cup this staff, but I can't wait to see this race tomorrow.
I'm excited. I don't want to pick a side because I think it's a great filly and a great mare, but I did pick a side. I'd like to see Swiss Skydiver. Maybe I'm biased, but the Preakness last year, that was such a throwdown. That's kind of what you want to see in horse racing, right? A two-horse throwdown. But Monomoy Girl, she's certainly going to be really, really tough.
Oh, my goodness, she's so amazing. She's even money on the morning line in that race, and that's, of course, Skydiver's second choice. Talking about an exciting day yesterday for someone, Gadiel, apprentice of Gadiel Martinez, brought in back-to-back long shots yesterday, and here is race number 4, and just comes closing here with the 9-horse right at the end, coming into your picture. Oh, just by the way, paid $148.60, so good for him. He came right back in the next race with an 18-to-1 long shot.
Wow, big prices. The sad thing is, if I would have been here yesterday, I may have wheeled Grand Malbec. My dad and I always bet that horse. That's the only way I think I would have had the Exacta, which paid $579. But you mentioned back-to-back long shots. Started riding here first at Gulfstream Park in 2019, and so far this year has 5 wins from 31 starts.
Well, the most amazing thing is that they didn't hit the Rainbow Six yesterday. You would think with that, both of those races were in the Rainbow Six and the late pick 5 sequence, but we got some great handicappers around here. There was 4 tickets with live going into the final leg of the Rainbow Six, but the big favorite with the speed won it. So that is how we see this afternoon. Well, it is this afternoon. Keep thinking it's a Saturday morning, but it's only Friday because we got such great stuff going on. So for Ron and Ashley, we'll see you in a little bit.